All right, well, welcome back. Hot tips now. What we want to talk about with stick tips this time is changing heads. What we've got here is a D2 made by the D drum company, D2 snare drum, with the factory coated heads and then factory both sides. What we're going to do is we're going to swap out the batter and put on what we've got here is an Aquarian, which is the this is a TC14. It's got it's a coated head, good snare, real good snare head. So we're going to throw this guy on there and sweeten this drum up a little bit. Because we're not going to keep this head, we don't have to be as careful about taking it off. A lot of times we want to work across the head. So if we're going to loosen up here, then we're going to go across and kind of work our way this way. But with a head that we're going to toss or use as a frisbee, because that is fun, we're just going to take it off quickly. This is my speed key. It's actually very cool. It's just a drill bit drum key and slick. If you don't got one, you do this a lot, get one. It's pretty cool. But we're just going to go around real fast and get this all done. Okay, when these are all loose and out of the actual lug, then we can just pick the rim up. Now if you want to clean it all out real good, which is a good idea, just to keep everything nice and clean without any dirt or any unwanted material between the hoop and then the rim of the drum head itself. But otherwise, we can just take this guy, give it a little twist, put it down on the floor, and we won't lose anything. It goes like that. This guy comes off, and like I said, good frisbee. Now, bearing edge. Let's talk about the bearing edge real quick. This edge here, being the bearing edge, and when shells are manufactured, they're going to put an angle on this bearing edge instead of just a flat surface like a desktop. They're going to put an angle of 30 degree, 45 degree. It varies. Sometimes a dual bearing edge where there's an angle on each side. But nonetheless, we want to make sure this bearing edge is clean, so it doesn't hurt to check it for nicks, any type of damage that might be in there, and then of course for junk, dirt, garbage, and that can be just wiped off with any type of a cloth. Then you might as well wipe the drum down a little bit, show it a little bit of love and care, let it know that you still care about it. And so we'll just wipe it down real quick this way. And the cloth I'm using, I actually just bought these today, just simple little microfibers. Nice because it doesn't scratch anything. Cleans it up pretty good. And everybody knows that a clean drum is a happy drum. And they sound better too. So that's not actually true, but you know, you could say so. New head. Again, the Aquarian TC14, nice head, works great on snares. Going to give you a real fast acting, responsive, quick little snare. Tighten it down like a gunshot, leave it a little bit loose for a little deeper bodied sound. But anyhow, we're going to put this guy on. When you put it on, don't go too much too soon. Just kind of give it a spin. Make sure everything is nice and happy with your drum. It's also a good way to make sure your drum hasn't gone out of true at all. But this one you can see floats around there real nice. A good plug for D drum. Good stuff. Alright. So the Aquarian sits nice. Alright. So here we go. The process now begins of the new head. So first, we'll just kind of finger tighten all these guys, the tension rods. And again, as I do this, I'm not applying any tension at all. I'm just doing it until I can feel the tension rod beginning to sit on the hoop or the rim. That's it, no tension whatsoever. Alright, everything now is not even really finger tight. So what we're going to do now is we're going to introduce you to this idea of seating the head. Now some guys go really over the top on this, and man, they're breaking out blow dryers and everything. and they're going around that bearing edge, and they're going to go kind of crazy and over the top. I like to tune it appropriately, but tune it as quickly as I can because I'd rather play than tune. So here we go, seating the head. I call it CPR. So what I'm going to do, center of the head, it's loose. You can hear that it's loose. So I'm going to just apply some pressure, center, down on it, a little bit like CPR. The idea behind seating the head is I want to take the mylar of the drum head and I want it to get intimate with the bearing edge. Okay? That way, it's going to seat right. So I do a little bit of CPR, then I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure and work my way around the drum. A little bit of lean and a little bit of tension as I go around. Okay, and again, CPR, seating the head. You don't have to be wimpy about it. You can get on it. I always thought, if I want the head to break, now's a good time. So if it's going to break, let's do it now. As opposed to when I get it all tuned up and I'm starting to practice, and then it breaks. And then again, a little bit of leaning and a little bit of tension. And yet another time. For what it's worth, I've never had one break while doing this. When I went to college, I was working with a guy, he did this, and his technique was to actually stand on it. I wouldn't recommend that, but that's what he did. That didn't break then either. Of course, he was really kind of a skinny little guy anyhow. Kind of one of those guys that turn sideways and he's disappeared, you know. And we'll do it again. Okay, now we're to the point where we actually have some tension on the drum, and I could continue this process and keep on going little by little all the way around. At some point, we're going to want to get out the handy-dandy drum key, of which all of us drummers probably have a few dozen of them scattered around the house. Most of them we don't know where they are. But with your key then, you can go ahead now and start to add tension. But here's where you want to start working your way opposite across the drum. So, say we go in this way. If I start here, then I'm going to work across, and then I'm going to come and just continue to work across the drum so that I'm not going in a circle. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do now. The turns at first now, I'll be a bit aggressive and give it a pretty good turn. Now, still not done. I'd still do a little bit of this, and then I'd go around a few more times. You know, if you think about it kind of like a guitar string, when you put a string on a guitar, you want to stretch it. You want to work that string so that when it sets into tune, it's not always losing tune. It's not always continuing to stretch and fall out of tune. Same idea here with the drum. Okay, I'm going to turn it and start in a different spot. Not quite as much a turn this time, less aggressive. Okay, now you can hear we've added quite a bit of tension to the head. At this point, you can begin to tap by each of the tension rods and listen to the pitch of the drum, and make sure that the head is going to be in tune with itself. It's a good idea so we don't get any funky overtones in the process of this thing. And also having the snares turned off is a real good idea. So, go something like this then. Right here we have two different pitches, so I'm just going to collect inventory and see what I have for pitches all the way around. But I know I've already 3 lugs into it, and I've got 2 different pitches. There's more. There's another. So we've got a few pitches to choose from, or I can just try to get them all to balance out and be within themselves, and that's where we're going to start. What you want to keep in mind is working what we call the brother lugs. What you want to look at is if this one is adjusted, this one is going to be sympathetic to that adjustment. So what I do here, I want to double check over here and just see how things are going. All of these adjustments I'm making are very small. I'm not turning much at all. Let's throw the snares on. This is without adjusting the snare side head at all. We haven't even talked about that. This is what it sounds like with no adjustment to the snare side whatsoever. So we got a nice tight snare. It's got a little bit of a ring to it. This is where you have to decide what you like in your sound. I like ring and sing. I like snare drums that have a lot of body. If I catch a rim shot or a ping shot, it's going to have a real tight, almost on some snares that I have, a tin can, real bite. Some guys can't stand that. They don't want any ring at all. They want it to be what's called very dry. So they'll put studio rings on it, moon gel, what we call Band-Aids. Anything to help choke it down. My thumb will show you a little bit what that sounds like without, and then with, and that's the difference between a wet snare and a dry snare. Okay? Wet, more ring and sing. Dry, less. Gunshot crack, and really no resonance, no ring after that. That's the basic idea. It's on, it's seated, it's ready to go. You can tweak tune from there and get it to where you like it to be. Hopefully this helps, and good luck tuning.